Hey fellas. Well, just gonna tell my attire. I just got back from an early screening of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Heard the ninth and final installment in the Skywalker saga and the final installment in the sequel trilogy. He as a whole since. And while this movie has had and the saga been quite an interesting journey over the last few years, and even though I'll admit this installment does tread some familiar waters, it does also provide a nice sort of epic love poem to longtime fans. I mean, like delivering a hyperspace rush of action and as a 155-minute epic finale to this 42 long saga, which, yes, they do indeed lampshade in the film. So, I will be discussing how I feel about the movie and experience the saga overall, but I'm also going to point out that I'm not going to be spoiling anything too major, mainly because as the promotion has given just enough away for me to have something to talk about, but also enough for me to say, if I say something like, go to the movie and what I'm talking about, you'll definitely know what I'm mentioning. So, picking up where the story left off from the events of The Last Jedi, we have the remaining members of the Resistance gearing up for a final battle against the First Order with their respective leaders. Here's of Poe Dameron, played again by Oscar Isaac, and new Supreme Leader, Kylo Ren, played Adam Driver, with their respective allies taking up arms, decide the fate of the galaxy once and for all. And it's definitely taken on many forms, and I have to say the biggest as curveball they threw set the stage for what would follow of the presence of Emperor Sheev Palpatine, played again Ian McDiarmid. And yes, that is his actual given name, and that is canon. And then I also definitely like how they use all the concepts, such as the Sith Homeland of Exegol, and also, I will admit that it's actually rife with references to previous films of the saga, as well as even some smaller nods that I'm mostly going to be noticing when it comes times of home viewings. And I also noticed that there's one thing that, even though it may seem like on the surface all the stuff in there might have been and meant to just throw people off, it turns out that was actually one of the main things that was just deliberately planned, even with certain events such as several actors for the series having passed away and the characters having been phased out or if not recast, as they have been set up not only from the very first frames of Force Awakens, but also pull from the saga's beginnings, not just in film, but also other material. And even with the statements made about the expanding universe, I'm noticing many elements are being used for this one, and that even goes back to the original Flash Gordon, Sirius, and core Star films that influenced the saga to begin with. So that's why I don't really let this get to me, because it's not my first band the rodeo, to be certain. It's all the things I'm hearing are actually the same as I heard when the prequels were out, as well as to some extent the special editions. But I can definitely say this: we're 11 for 11, and baby, and that's right. I can honestly say without hyperbole. Again, it's not my very favorite film of the year. I had to figure that out. I'm still working on compiling my list in my head as I record this. So I'll definitely say might be in the top 5, definitely in the top 10 because I've seen a lot this year. I haven't seen anything I really disliked, but again, one of the few fans I can say where I have not seen a single live action theatrical film so I dislike, so yet the streak remains unbroken. And what do they have planned for the future? With this series, what I'd want out of it is simple for it to be good. I mean, since it's going to be alternating between them and the Avatar sequels, I'm actually fine with that. So I'll definitely be addressing the coming attractions as well, but, I mean, wow. Just, wow. I mean, it just oozes every frame of. There's very rarely a moment where I wasn't excited about what's going on screen. That's basically why I deliberately decided to just not do too much, get into too much detail beforehand. I just tried to go in for the most part as its own thing, which I definitely best I can do. Is kind of how I've been approaching this saga ever since I was very young, and how I most likely will be doing this, and that's why I decided that, regardless of what anyone else thought, I only decided that my personal preference would be taking paramount here since I was there when my obsession began 22 years ago around this time. Yes, I first saw the original trilogy around Christmas, so it's only right I be there here now when it ends. So, and whatever they have planned, and for the future, whether it's going to be something on the movies, in a comic book, in a video game, or a Disney Plus series, I'm open to it. I mean, it's definitely the ideal fantasy for young and old. And whatever happens, I'll probably be there in some capacity. Even though the time is coming when I'm definitely going to be taking a different approach to how I do things on the sites, and stepping away from this direction. I definitely think these are important words to remember. No one's ever really gone. And there are many, and I was wondering if it's going to be kind of like the fun stuff of episode 6 or the dark one of episode 3. I have to say that there's a nice balance between the two, because I had a lot of fun with the movie, but also there are a lot of dramatic moments that kept me on the edge of my seat, and in many ways, given many people associated with the series having passed away, it also made them fictional as well. So, but that's the whole thing. If I had to sum this movie up in one word, it would be balance. I mean, as Phyllis says, like poetry, they rhyme. Well, I guess that about does her. Wraps it all up. I mean, it's been pretty fun watching the story in full. That was a pretty good story, just I think. Made me laugh to be at the band. Parts anyway. I didn't like to see Carrie Fisher go, but then I happen to know that there is a little Yiddle on the way, one of the Mandalorian, and I guess that's the whole way this whole saga keeps perpetuating itself, given how, in many ways, Skywalker was more than just one person or one name. It was an idea. And ideas cannot truly die. They can only transform over time. And look at me, rambling again. Well, guess I might as well issue a verdict. There's that. To give you, before I go have some sarsaparilla, maybe on this place I know, or back on Tatooine. So, I give this movie and the saga overall a spectacular 4 out of 4 before I get into some coming attractions. Oh. Okay, so no particular order. These are going to be the upcoming release in 2020. Honey, given how most of the other stuff is going to be gunning for second. Hence is Jumanji or Heaven for. Definitely not going to be Cats, though. Ugh. And I just. Between the Uncanny Valley CG, I think I might have to call Alita and tell them I'm sorry, but that's just a little bit there. Anyway, Black Widow. Been meaning to talk about this one for a while. Now I finally have a chance to. The first movie, Phase 4, looks like for Marvel. Looks like it'll be really cool to see more of this character. And even with the events if we won the Endgame, my guess was they would have had to make it a prequel or another timeline, and this is kind of both. I mean, being set after her she has to go into hiding after Sokovia Accords are enacted, and meeting with old allies such as David Harbour's Red Guardian, but also dealing with some of the other members of Checker past. I do give the movie credit for including a villain as obscure and awesome as Taskmaster in the mix, to be sure. Definitely gonna be seeing that when it opens, yeah. So, the live action version of Mulan, and I'm keeping an open mind towards that. It has potential, at least. I mean, even though I'm not sure how to approach it, shifting its focus from being like a musical to focusing on a martial arts epic aspect of the film, I have confidence in the idea, given how, on top of the director, Nikki Caro, having experienced kind of stories like North Country and Whale Rider, I definitely he will point out that it's actually not that different from how they've been pushing the animated stuff that we have. They alternate between non-musical ones like Rock Breaks the Internet and ones that are musicals like Frozen 2, which seems to be working out just fine for them. It is kind of interesting some of the creative license taking, such as the fact that her dad has a bad leg rather than respiratory problems like in the original movie. But to be fair, the legend's been passed down for centuries, and it's only natural that there'd be a different interpretation of it. Yeah. And to be fair, if I can buy Josh Brolin as Thanos and Ryan Reynolds as a talking Pikachu, then I should not have any problem buying phoenixes and enchanted witches as having being involved in a fight between China and Mongolia. Even with the lead's admittedly controversial statements as of late, I'll still keep an eye on that one. And mostly stuff also made by Disney or now their subsidiary, their division of Fox, called The Wild. It's basically already complete. They just bumped it to February, say, to avoid competition with their bigger tentpole releases. Is like the one I just saw. I just hope they don't mess it up. I mean, because it's a good book, but very few of the film adaptations have managed to capture what made it work. I mean, I read the book when I was very young, but so far very few, if any, of the film adaptations have been able to make the story work. However, I will say that Harrison Ford as a dog's elderly companion is always a bonus in my book. Yeah. And Dr. Dolittle, or just Dolittle with Robert Downey Jr. title role, looks like it'll be pretty crazy. I mean, I am relatively familiar with both the 1960s adaptation as well as the ones that had with Eddie Murphy. I keep forgetting about the DTV he seems to did with Kyla Pratt or whatever. I mean, but this might be the one that finally makes the story work. I mean, it looks expensive, and some of the animal effects are pretty creative. How they're staging, like not just the CG versions of real ones like the parrots and the apes, but also ones that aren't even real, like the Push Me Pull You. Who, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a musical, Well, but it's definitely going to be focusing on the kind of fantasy aspects of the book. I mean, like having all these exotic like travels, almost very strange veterinarian. And last and definitely not least, he's the sorry, I lost my train of thought there. There's another movie. Oh wait, now I remember Jungle Cruise. The latest adaptation of one of their Disneyland rides. It's this one and and takes what there's normally like basically like the equivalent of like a scenic cruise in the parks. I think it was very small and one on one to a kind of a rip roaring old timey adventure with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Emily Blunt. I mean, it might be fun. I might wait for the DVD. I don't know. How or if it'll come on Disney Plus or something. And anyway, that'll be all for now. Now, I mean, well, guys, what do you think about the movie? I definitely encourage you to be open and as honest as you can. And then that, if you're not into it, I gotta definitely tell you it's nothing personal, but I'll definitely tell you one thing that remember, the force will be with you always.